The chamber was massive, built to hold representatives from 847 different species. Ambassador Chen Lin stood in the center, a single human surrounded by thousands of alien beings who looked down at her from every direction. The air smelled wrong, filtered through systems designed for creatures who breathed different gases. The lighting hurt her eyes, tuned for species that saw colors humans couldn't even name. She had known this day would come. 50 years Earth had played by their rules, bending and bowing, asking permission for everything. 50 years of being treated like children who couldn't be trusted with sharp objects. The Varshiel Prime Speaker rose from his throne. He was tall, nearly 3 meters, with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. His 4 eyes fixed on Chen with something that might have been pity, or might have been contempt. With aliens, it was always hard to tell. The Galactic Sovereignty Council has reviewed the charges against the human species. His voice boomed through translators that made it sound like thunder. You stand accused of 37 violations of developmental protocols. Unauthorized research into artificial intelligence. Genetic modification of your own species without approval. Military expansion beyond permitted levels. Refusal to share technology with council oversight. Chen felt her jaw tighten. Every single one of those crimes had been necessary. Earth needed AI to manage their growing colonies. They needed genetic medicine to cure diseases that were killing millions. They needed ships to defend themselves because the Council's protection was a joke. And they refused to hand over their hard-won discoveries to species that would use them as leverage. How does humanity answer these charges? The Prime Speaker asked. Chen stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but it carried through the chamber. We acknowledge that we broke your rules. We don't apologize for it. You gave us restrictions designed to keep us weak. You denied us full membership while demanding we follow all your laws. You treated us like a threat while giving us no voice in our own fate. Angry sounds erupted from the gallery. Clicks, whistles, roars in languages Chen couldn't understand. The Prime Speaker raised one long arm for silence. Your arrogance proves our point, he said. Humanity is dangerous, unpredictable. You advance too quickly. You refuse to learn patience. In the 10,000 years this council has maintained peace, we have learned that species like yours must be controlled or they destroy everything around them. Or maybe you just don't like that we won't bow down, Chen shot back. The Prime Speaker's colors darkened. The council votes now. All in favor of expelling humanity from the galactic sovereignty? Chen watched as lights appeared across the chamber. Red lights, hundreds of them, thousands. She counted the green lights that meant no on one hand. 5 species out of 847 thought Earth deserved a chance. The vote is decided, the Prime Speaker announced. Humanity is hereby expelled from the Council. You are granted a quarantine zone of 50 light years from your home star. You may not expand beyond this boundary. All trade agreements are terminated. All Council embassies will be withdrawn. Any human vessels found beyond the quarantine line will be destroyed without warning. He leaned forward, and Chen could see satisfaction in his alien features. You will remain in your small corner of space until you learn humility. Perhaps in a few centuries, when your civilization has collapsed and you beg for readmittance, we will consider your petition. This hearing is concluded. Chen stood alone as the chamber emptied around her. She should have felt defeated. Instead, she felt something else entirely. Relief, freedom, and beneath it all, burning like a star, anger that would not go out. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks through Council-controlled jump gates. Chen spent the time preparing her report, knowing every word would be analyzed by billions of people. When her ship finally entered orbit around the blue-green planet that had been humanity's only home for so long, she felt her heart clench. They thought Earth would collapse. They had no idea what they'd just done. The emergency session of the United Earth Government took place in Geneva. Every nation sent representatives. Every major corporation sent executives. Military leaders filled the viewing galleries. Chen delivered her report in the same calm voice she'd used before the council. They've cast us out, she concluded. They expect us to fail. They're counting on it. Director Sarah Okonkwo stood. She was 60 years old with gray in her hair and fire in her eyes. She'd been elected director only 2 months before, voted in on a platform of standing up to council control. Now she had her chance. Ambassador Chen, Okonkwo said, you've dealt with these species for decades. In your professional opinion, what will the council do if we thrive in isolation? Chen didn't hesitate. They'll be terrified. Because it proves everything they believe is wrong. Okonkwo nodded slowly. Then we have our answer. She turned to address the assembly. For 50 years we played by their rules and got nothing for it. They think isolation will break us. They've forgotten something important about humans. We evolved alone. We climbed from caves to space stations without any help from anyone. We don't need them. We never did. She pulled up a holographic display that filled the chamber. I'm proposing the Forge Protocol, a complete restructuring of Earth's priorities. Every resource we were wasting on council fees and trade tariffs goes to research and development. Every scientist who was restricted by their regulations gets full freedom to explore. Every engineer working on approved projects switches to what we actually need. We have 50 light years to work with, hundreds of star systems. We're going to build an empire in our quarantine zone that makes the council look like children playing with toys. Arguments erupted immediately. Some said it was too aggressive, that they should try diplomacy. Others said it wasn't aggressive enough, that they should prepare for war. Okonkwo let them argue for an hour before calling for order. This isn't about revenge, she said quietly. It's about survival. The council has shown us what they are. Bullies, tyrants hiding behind 10,000 years of tradition. They rule through fear and restriction. We're going to prove there's another way. We're going to show the galaxy what free people can accomplish when nobody's holding them back. The vote took 6 hours. When it finished, the Forge Protocol had passed with 87% approval. That night, Chen stood on a balcony overlooking Lake Geneva. The stars were bright, unpolluted by the light of orbital stations that the Council had never let them build. Somewhere out there, alien species were celebrating Earth's expulsion, thinking the human problem was solved. Okonkwo joined her, carrying 2 glasses of wine. Do you think we can do it? Chen asked. Build an empire stronger than all of them combined? Okonkwo smiled. They made one critical mistake. They assumed we needed them. They assumed isolation would weaken us. She raised her glass to the stars. They're about to learn that the most dangerous thing you can do to humanity is leave us alone with a problem to solve. They touched glasses, and the sound rang out clear in the night air. Above them, invisible to the naked eye, construction had already begun on the first shipyard. Within the year, a dozen colony ships would launch toward distant stars within the quarantine zone. Within a decade, Earth's industrial capacity would double. Within a century, the Council would realize they'd made the worst mistake in galactic history. But that night, Chen and Okonkwo simply stood and watched the stars, knowing that everything was about to change. 20 years after the banishment, Dr. Yuki Tanaka made the discovery that would change everything. She was working in a research station orbiting Proxima Centauri when her instruments detected something impossible, a stable quantum tunnel connecting 2 points in space, allowing instant communication across any distance. The theory had existed for decades, but the Council had classified it as restricted research. Too dangerous, they said, too destabilizing for galactic commerce. Now, freed from their rules, Tanaka and her team had cracked it in less than a generation. Director Okonkwo, now 79 years old, took the first call through the quantum link. Tanaka's voice came through with 0 delay, despite being 4 light years away. It works, Tanaka said, and Okonkwo could hear her crying with joy. Director, we can coordinate our entire civilization in real time now. The Council needed weeks to send messages between systems. We can do it instantly. Okonkwo closed her eyes and smiled. Build more. Put them in every colony. Make sure the Council never finds out. The Council's spy drones came regularly in those early years trying to monitor Earth's quarantine zone. Every single one was captured. Not destroyed, that would have been wasteful. Instead, they were taken apart, studied, improved, and sent back out as Earth's own surveillance network. The Council never noticed. They saw what they expected to see. Humans struggling in isolation, making slow progress. No threat to anyone. They couldn't have been more wrong. By year 30, every human colony had quantum communicators. Orders from Earth reached the furthest settlements instantly. Military coordination became perfect. Scientists could collaborate in real time across dozens of star systems. What would have taken the Council months now took Earth minutes. The breakthroughs came faster and faster. Nanotechnology that could build structures molecule by molecule. Artificial intelligence that could think and learn and create. genetic treatments that extended human lifespans to 200 years and cured diseases the Council had never even tried to solve. The Vanguard program started in year 42. Dr. Marcus Chen, grandson of Ambassador Chen Lin, led the project. The goal was simple: enhance human capabilities without losing what made humans human. The first generation of Vanguard emerged after 5 years of careful work. They were stronger, their muscles enhanced with carbon fiber weaving at the cellular level. They were smarter, their brains optimized for faster processing and perfect memory. They healed faster, aged slower, and could survive in environments that would kill baseline humans. Some people feared them. There were protests, debates about playing God and losing humanity. But the Vanguard proved their critics wrong. They were still human. They still loved and laughed and cried. They just did it all better. By year 50, humanity had spread to every star system within their quarantine zone. 38 colonies, each one terraformed and thriving. The population had grown from 8 billion to 50 billion. Earth's industrial output matched what the entire Council produced, and they did it with a fraction of the resources. Then Scout Captain Maria Santos found the wormholes. She was exploring the edge of the quarantine zone when her sensors picked up a gravitational anomaly. At first she thought it was a black hole. Then her AI assistant analyzed the readings and gave her news that made her hands shake. "It's a wormhole network," the AI said. "Natural formation stabilized by exotic matter. Captain, there are hundreds of them. They connect to star systems far beyond the quarantine zone. The Council doesn't even know they exist." Santos sat in her command chair staring at the data. This changed everything. Earth wasn't trapped in a 50-light-year bubble. They had access to hundreds, maybe thousands of systems the Council had never even explored. She sent the information back through the quantum link. Within an hour, she had new orders directly from Director Okonkwo's successor, Director James Okafor. Explore. Map the network. Report everything. And Captain? Absolute secrecy. The Council cannot know about this. The Great Expansion began quietly. Colony ships slipped through the wormholes to distant stars. They built in secret, hiding their signatures using stealth technology the Council couldn't detect. Within 20 years, Earth controlled 200 systems, scattered across a volume of space 10 times larger than the quarantine zone. And that's when they found the remnants. The first dead city was on a planet humans named Discovery. The ruins were millions of years old, but they'd been built by someone with technology that made the Council look primitive. Buildings that defied gravity, power sources that still functioned after eons, data crystals containing information humanity could barely understand. Admiral Marcus Zhang, one of the first Vanguard, led the exploration teams. He walked through alien streets where beings far greater than humans had once lived, and he wondered what had happened to them. Whatever they were, he told his team, they were better than anything the galaxy has now. And they still fell. We need to learn everything they knew. And we need to learn what killed them. For 50 years, humanity studied the remnants. They found hundreds of dead civilizations, all advanced beyond anything currently alive in the galaxy. And slowly, carefully, they reverse-engineered the technology. Shields that could phase in and out of reality, making ships untouchable. Weapons that could manipulate gravity itself, crushing enemy vessels without even touching them. Computers that operated at the quantum level, processing information at speeds that made current AI look slow. By year 100, Earth's technology had leaped forward centuries. They were no longer playing catch-up with the Council. They'd surpassed them entirely. The military buildup happened naturally. Admiral Zhang convinced the government that they needed to be ready. Not for conquest, he made that clear, but for defense. The Council wouldn't stay ignorant forever. When they discovered what Earth had become, there would be war. The Shadow Fleet was born in year 105. Ships that could cloak perfectly, invisible to every known sensor, weapons that could fire through wormholes, hitting targets light years away. Soldiers enhanced beyond even the first Vanguard. Trained by AI that could predict enemy movements with 90% accuracy. They built it all in secret, in hidden shipyards scattered across 200 systems. The Council's spy drones still came occasionally, and they still saw nothing but struggling human colonies barely getting by. By year 150, Earth's population had reached 500 billion. Their industrial capacity exceeded the entire council's output by a factor of 10. They had technology that would seem like magic to the species that had banished them, and they had an empire that spanned dimensions, hidden from the eyes of those who thought humans were contained. Director Kenji Yamamoto stood in the war room, looking at a holographic display of Earth's hidden empire. He was young for a director, only 80 years old, but he'd been chosen for his vision. The scouts report the council is growing worse, his military advisor said. The Varshil have consolidated power. They're crushing any species that questions their authority. It's not a council anymore. It's a dictatorship. Yamamoto nodded slowly. How much longer do you think we can stay hidden? Unknown. But sir, we need to make a decision. Do we stay hidden forever, or do we reveal ourselves? Yamamoto looked at the display, at the 200 systems humanity controlled, at the billions of humans living free from council tyranny. We wait, he said, but we prepare, because when we step back into the light, the galaxy is going to change forever. In orbit above Earth, construction continued on vessels that could end civilizations. In laboratories across human space, scientists made discoveries that rewrote physics. In training facilities, soldiers prepared for a war that might never come. And in the shadows between stars, humanity grew stronger with each passing day, invisible to the council that had banished them and forgotten them, and would soon learn the most important lesson in galactic history. Never corner humans and expect them to stay cornered. Commander Jessica Torres was having coffee when the council exploration fleet entered her system. She set down her cup slowly, watching the sensor displays light up with contacts. 20 ships, all of them armed, all of them broadcasting council identification codes. Her colony, Haven, was one of the outer settlements, built through a wormhole the council didn't know existed. For 160 years, humanity had hidden in the dark, building and growing in secret. That secret had just ended. Ma'am, they're hailing us, her communications officer said. Torres smiled. She'd been waiting for this moment her entire life. Put them through. The alien face that appeared on her screen had too many eyes and a mouth that moved wrong. A Krell commander by the uniform. The Krell had always been one of the council's most loyal species. Never questioning, never thinking for themselves. Unknown colony, the Krell said, confusion in his translated voice. You are broadcasting human identification codes. This system is far beyond the quarantine zone. Explain your presence immediately. We built a colony here, Torres said simply. It's a nice planet. Good water, decent atmosphere. We've been here for 80 years. The Krell's confusion deepened. Impossible. Humans cannot travel this far. Your technology is insufficient. You must be refugees who stole council ships. Torres laughed. We didn't steal anything. We built our own ships. Better ones. And we've built colonies in 200 systems. This is just one of them. Silence. Then you lie. The council was informed humans were contained, struggling, barely surviving in your quarantine zone. The council was told what we wanted them to know, Torres said. We've been hiding, building, growing, and now I'm going to send you back with a message for your masters. She stood up, moving to stand directly in front of the camera. Tell the council that the quarantine ends now. Tell them we're coming home. Tell them that if they have any wisdom at all, they'll accept this peacefully. The Krell commander's face shifted through several colors. You threaten the council? Foolish humans. You will be reminded of your place. This fleet is nothing. We will return with 500 warships. You will be destroyed as an example to any who dare defy council authority. You're free to try, Torres said. But I'm giving you a choice. Leave now peacefully and deliver our message, or stay and see what we've become. The Krell chose to leave. Torres watched his fleet jump out of the system, knowing everything was about to change. She activated her quantum communicator. Director Yamamoto, they found us. I sent them back with our message. On Earth, Director Yamamoto stood in the war room, surrounded by his advisors and military commanders. He'd known this day would come. They all had. How long until the council responds? He asked Admiral Zhang. Zhang, now 140 years old but looking only 40 thanks to Vanguard enhancements, studied the tactical displays. 3 weeks to reach their nearest major base, 1 week for them to gather forces, 2 weeks travel time to Haven Colony, 6 weeks total. They'll send a big fleet, the military advisor said. The Varshil will want to make an example of us. Yamamoto nodded. Then we let them. Jessica, keep only 50 ships at Haven. Make them look like everything we have. Let the Council think they can crush us easily. 3,000 light-years away in the Council's Grand Chamber, the Varshiel Prime Speaker listened to the Krell Commander's report with growing anger. Humans, beyond the quarantine, claiming 200 systems. Speaking of coming home, he stood, his colors darkening to the shade that meant fury. Impossible lies. But even lies require punishment. He turned to his military commanders. Assemble a punitive fleet. 500 warships. Proceed to these coordinates and destroy every human presence you find. Bring back survivors for trial. Let this be a lesson about the cost of defying Council authority. The fleet that assembled was impressive by Council standards. 500 ships from a dozen species, all of them armed with weapons that could level cities. They jumped through Council-controlled space, confident in their mission. They had no idea what was waiting for them. 6 weeks later, the Council fleet emerged in Haven's system. 500 warships spread out in battle formation, their sensors scanning for targets. What they found confused them. Only 50 human ships, small ones by Council standards, hanging in orbit around the colony world, making no effort to hide or run. This is their entire defense? The fleet commander asked. 50 ships against 500? His tactical officer checked the readings again. Sensors confirm. 50 vessels. Unknown configuration. They're not running. The commander felt uneasy. Something was wrong. But he had his orders. All ships attack formation. We'll show them the price of defiance. The Battle of New Horizon lasted 14 minutes. The Council fleet opened fire first, unleashing enough destructive power to destroy a moon. Their weapons struck the human shields and simply stopped. The energy didn't penetrate, didn't even cause ripples. It just vanished, absorbed by technology the Council couldn't understand. Then the humans fired back. The human weapons didn't destroy. They were precise, surgical, targeted. Beams that phased through shields and disabled weapon systems. Gravity pulses that locked ships in place, unable to move. Electronic warfare that seized control of enemy computers and shut them down peacefully. In 14 minutes, every Council ship was disabled. Not destroyed. Not damaged beyond repair. Just stopped, frozen in space, their crews alive and unharmed but completely helpless. Commander Torres broadcast on all Council frequencies. Council fleet. This is Commander Jessica Torres of the Terran Concordat. Your ships are disabled, but your crews are safe. We could have destroyed you. We chose not to. That choice should tell you something about who we are now. She paused, letting that sink in. We're sending transport ships to provide life support and supplies. In 3 days, we'll release your ships. You'll be given full data recordings of this battle. Take them back to the Council. Show them what we've become. And tell them again we want peace. But we won't accept subjugation. The choice is theirs. True to her word, human ships arrived with supplies and medical teams. Council crews were treated with respect, even kindness. Their wounded were healed with technology that worked better than anything Council medicine could achieve. Their ships were left intact, weapons disabled, but everything else functional. 3 days later, as promised, the Council fleet was released. They jumped away, carrying recordings that would change everything. On Council worlds across the galaxy, the recordings played on every screen. Military experts watched in disbelief. Scientists declared the technology impossible. Politicians argued about what it meant, but everyone understood one thing. Earth had surpassed them. Completely and utterly. The Varshiel Prime Speaker watched the recordings with something beyond anger. Fear. For 10,000 years, the Council had ruled through superior technology and overwhelming force. Now a species they'd banished and forgotten had become stronger than all of them combined. Mobilize everything, he ordered. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. The humans must be destroyed before they destroy us all. But not every species agreed. The Talaran representative stood in the Council chamber and spoke words that would have been unthinkable weeks before. Perhaps we should listen to them. They defeated us without killing anyone. They offered peace. Maybe they're not the threat. Maybe we are. Similar voices rose across the Council. Species that had suffered under Varshiel rule, that had been forced to contribute ships and soldiers to wars they didn't believe in, that had watched the Council become a tyranny. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Sovereignty Council was fracturing on Earth. Director Yamamoto addressed humanity through the quantum network. his words reaching every human in every system instantly. The Council knows we exist now. They know we're strong. Some will seek peace. Others will seek war. We must be ready for both. But remember why we built all this. Not for conquest. Not for revenge. For freedom. For the right to determine our own destiny. If the Council accepts that, we'll be their partners. If they don't, we'll show them that free people are always stronger than subjects. Across human space, 500 billion people heard his words and prepared for whatever came next. The age of hiding was over. The age of emergence had begun. The first species to reach out to Earth was the Talaran. They sent a single ship through back channels, no weapons. Just a message. We want to talk. Ambassador Chen Lin, now 130 years old but still sharp as ever, met with the Talaran representative on a neutral station. The Talaran, a species with crystal-like features and voices that sounded like music, bowed deeply when Chen entered the room. Ambassador, the Talaran said, my name is Crystallis. I speak for a faction of my people who are tired of the Council's tyranny. We watched your battle at Haven. You could have killed thousands. You chose mercy. That is not something we have seen from the powerful in a very long time. Chen gestured for Crystallis to sit. What do you want from us? Protection. Freedom. A chance to govern ourselves without the Varshiel crushing us for every small choice. Crystallis's colors shifted to shades that Chen's translator marked as hope mixed with fear. 47 systems want to leave the Council and join you. We know the risks, but we believe you when you say you want partners, not subjects. Within the month, 47 systems formally defected from the Council and joined what Earth was now calling the Terran Concordat. Each kept their own government, their own military, their own culture. Earth simply offered protection, free trade, and access to technology the Council had kept from them. The flood had started. By the end of the year, 120 systems had joined the Concordat, species that had been oppressed, held back, forced to follow rules that served only the Varshiel. They saw Earth as liberators. The Varshiel Prime Speaker saw it as a rebellion that must be crushed. Assemble the Grand Fleet, he ordered. 10,000 ships. We strike at Earth's core systems simultaneously. Even with their advanced technology, they cannot defend everywhere at once. His military advisors hesitated. Prime Speaker, perhaps we should negotiate. The humans have shown they're reasonable. Reasonable? The Prime Speaker's voice was like thunder. They defy 10,000 years of order. They steal our member species. They must be destroyed, and all who follow them must learn fear. The Grand Fleet took 3 months to assemble. 10,000 warships from 300 systems still loyal to the Council. It was the largest military force gathered in galactic history. The Varshiel were certain it would be enough. They were wrong. Admiral Zhang watched the enemy fleet approach on his tactical display. 10,000 ships all burning toward human colonies in a massive coordinated assault. They divided their forces, hitting 50 different systems simultaneously, trying to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer numbers. Zhang smiled. They still didn't understand. All ships, he broadcast through the quantum network, initiate protocol cascade. Across 200 systems, the Shadow Fleet revealed itself. Ships that had been hiding, cloaked and patient suddenly appeared. Not in human systems, in Council systems. Behind the enemy fleet. Between their ships. In some cases, inside their formations, the Council fleet had been outmaneuvered before the battle even started. The 3-month campaign that followed became known as the Varshiel's Folly. The Council expected to fight battles in space. Traditional engagements where numbers would matter. Instead, they found themselves confused, separated, and systematically disabled. Human ships could move through wormholes in seconds, traveling light years instantly. Council ships needed hours to jump between systems. By the time Council fleets arrived at a target, human ships had already disabled the real threat somewhere else. Earth's AI coordination meant every human ship, every weapon, every soldier moved as part of a single organism. The Council fleets were hundreds of separate groups trying to work together across communication delays. Against humans with quantum instantaneous coordination, they might as well have been fighting in slow motion. But the real difference wasn't technology. It was philosophy. The Council fought to destroy, Earth fought to disable and capture. When Council ships surrendered, they were treated well. Crews were fed, given medical care, and allowed to contact their families. Within weeks, Council soldiers were telling stories about the humans who treated them better than their own commanders ever had. By the end of 3 months, the Council had lost 7,000 ships. Not destroyed, captured, or disabled. Earth's casualties were minimal, mostly from accidents rather than combat. The war was over before it really began, but Admiral Zhang didn't pursue the retreating fleets. Instead, he sent his forces to systems suffering under Council rule. Not to conquer, to liberate. The first liberation was a Neferi colony world that the Varshil had been strip mining for resources. The local government had protested and been replaced with a Varshil military governor. The people were starving while their world was bled dry. Zhang arrived with a fleet and a simple message. The Council no longer rules here. You're free to govern yourselves. Join the Concordat or remain independent. The choice is yours. The Neferi couldn't believe it. The governor was removed peacefully, tried for crimes against the local population, and imprisoned. The mining operations were shut down. Food and medical supplies arrived. Engineers helped rebuild infrastructure. Within a week, the Neferi formally requested to join the Concordat. The same pattern repeated across 100 worlds. Species that had been oppressed for centuries suddenly found themselves free, and the liberators were humans who asked for nothing except friendship. The Talaran homeworld was different. It had been one of the Council's founding members, powerful and prosperous once, but they'd questioned Varshil authority 50 years ago. In response, the Council had sanctioned them, cut them off from trade, and left them to struggle. When the Varshil sent a punishment fleet to finish what sanctions had started, Earth intervened. Admiral Zhang's fleet emerged between the Talaran homeworld and the approaching Council armada. 300 human ships against 1,000 Council vessels. Council fleet, this is Admiral Marcus Zhang of the Terran Concordat. The Talaran are under our protection. Turn back now, or we'll be forced to disable your ships. The Council commander laughed. 300 against 1,000? Human arrogance will be your end. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 900 Council ships were disabled and drifting. The remaining 100 fled. Not a single human ship was lost. The Talaran couldn't find words adequate to their gratitude. Their prime Crystallis met Zhang in person, colors shifting through patterns that meant joy and disbelief and hope. You saved us, Crystallis said. You didn't have to. We're not strategic. We're not rich. We have nothing to offer you. Zhang shook his head. You have yourselves. That's enough. Join the Concordat or don't, your choice. But you're under our protection now. No one gets to bully you anymore. The Talaran chose to join, and with them, dozens of other species saw that Earth meant what it said. This wasn't conquest dressed up as liberation. It was genuine freedom offered without strings attached. Within 2 years, the Concordat encompassed 400 systems. The Council, still under Varshil control, was down to 300. And those 300 were suffering. Trade had collapsed. Resources were scarce. The populations were restless. On Earth, Director Yamamoto faced his greatest challenge yet. Not from enemies, but from allies. Sir, his military advisor said, we could end this tomorrow. One strike on Varshil Prime. Remove their leadership and the Council collapses completely. We'd control everything. Yamamoto was quiet for a long time. And then what? We become the new tyrants? Force everyone to join us? That's not what we built this for. But sir, the Varshil will never stop. They'll keep fighting until they're destroyed. Then we remove their ability to fight without destroying them as a people, Yamamoto said firmly. We're not conquerors. We're liberators. The moment we forget that difference, we become exactly what the old Council was. The debate raged through human government for months. Some wanted total victory. Some wanted to back off and let the Council collapse on its own. Some wanted to negotiate a peace treaty. Yamamoto made the final decision. We give the Varshil one last chance to surrender. If they refuse, we don't destroy them. We isolate them. Cut them off from the resources they need for war. Protect any species that wants to leave their control. Eventually, their own people will demand change. The message was sent to Varshil Prime. The response came back within hours. Never. We will fight until every human is dead, or every Varshil has fallen. There is no middle ground. Yamamoto read the message and sighed. Then we do this the hard way. Admiral Zhang, you have your orders. Isolate Varshil Prime, no resources in. No ships out. Peaceful blockade only. Anyone who wants to leave is free to go. Anyone who wants to stay can stay. But the Varshiel leadership's war is over, Zhang nodded. And if they try to use planet-killer weapons on their own colonies, intelligence suggests they have them and they're desperate enough to try. Then we stop them, Yamamoto said quietly. Whatever it takes, the siege was about to begin, and with it, the final chapter of the war that would reshape the galaxy. The Varshiel homeworld was beautiful from orbit. Blue oceans, green continents, cities that gleamed in the sunlight. It was hard to believe that such beauty housed a government willing to destroy worlds rather than accept change. Admiral Zhang stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the planet below. Around him, the blockade was perfect. 300 human ships, all cloaked, all ready. Nothing could get in or out without Earth knowing about it. "Sir," his tactical officer said, "we're detecting energy signatures from the surface. They're powering up the planet-killer weapons." Zhang felt his stomach tighten. Intelligence had warned this might happen. The Varshiel leadership, faced with defeat, was preparing to threaten their own rebel colonies with extinction. Join us or die. It was the act of desperate tyrants with nothing left to lose. "How long until the weapons are operational?" Zhang asked. 6 hours. Zhang activated his quantum communicator. "Director Yamamoto, the Varshiel are preparing planet killers. We need to act now." On Earth, Yamamoto closed his eyes. He'd hoped it wouldn't come to this. But hoping wasn't enough. "Admiral, you have authorization for Operation Ghost Strike. But remember the rules, disable only. No casualties if possible. We're not executioners." "Understood, sir. Beginning operation now." The Ghost Fleet had been held in reserve for this exact scenario. 20 ships equipped with the most advanced stealth and infiltration technology humanity had ever created. They'd been waiting in orbit for weeks, invisible even to the blockade sensors, ready for the moment when surgical action was required. They dropped toward Varshiel Prime like shadows, passing through shields designed to stop ships, not phase-shifted matter. They landed in 6 different locations simultaneously, the weapon control centers scattered across the planet. The Varshiel guards never saw them coming. One moment their stations were secure. The next, human soldiers in armor that bent light around them were inside the facilities. Weapons were disabled with precise electromagnetic pulses. Computer systems were infiltrated and locked down. Guards were stunned, not killed, with weapons that left them unconscious but unharmed. In 6 hours, the operation was complete. Every planet-killer weapon was disabled. Every backup system was locked. And sitting in the central government complex, confused and disarmed, were the 12 members of the Varshiel High Council. Admiral Zhang broadcast on all frequencies, both to Varshiel Prime and to the galaxy beyond. "People of Varshiel, this is Admiral Marcus Zhang of the Terran Concordat. Your leaders attempted to use planet-killer weapons against innocent civilians. We have stopped them. The weapons are disabled. Your leadership is in custody. But hear this. We are not here to conquer you. We're here to give you a choice." He paused, knowing billions were listening. "Your leaders ruled through fear and violence. They made decisions in your name that you never agreed to. Now you can make your own choice. Join the Concordat. Remain independent. Form a new government. It doesn't matter to us. But the tyranny ends today. The old council is finished. What comes next is up to you." The operation had taken 6 hours. Not a single person had died. The Varshiel government had been removed without bloodshed. Across the galaxy, species watched in awe. The trial of the Varshiel High Council took place on a neutral station. 50 species sent representatives to serve as judges. The defendants were given lawyers, full access to evidence, and every opportunity to defend themselves. The evidence was damning. Centuries of oppression, forced labor, resources stolen from weaker species, wars started for profit, and finally the attempt to use planet killers against civilians. Ambassador Chen Lin, now 140 years old, attended every day of the trial. She'd been there at the beginning when Earth was banished. She wanted to be there at the end. The defense argued that the Council had maintained peace for 10,000 years, that without strong leadership, the galaxy would descend into chaos, that everything they'd done was necessary. The prosecution, led by a young human lawyer named Sarah Okonkwo, granddaughter of the woman who'd started it all, presented a different view. "Peace through tyranny isn't peace," she argued. "It's oppression with a pleasant name." The council maintained order by crushing anyone who disagreed. They called it stability, We call it what it is, dictatorship. She turned to face the judges. My grandmother stood before these same Varshiel 150 years ago. They banished humanity for refusing to be controlled. They thought isolation would break us. Instead, it freed us to become what we were meant to be. And now we offer that same freedom to everyone. The trial lasted 3 months. The verdict was unanimous, guilty on all charges, but the sentence surprised everyone. The Varshiel High Council is guilty of crimes against sapient beings, the chief judge announced. However, death serves no purpose except revenge. Instead, they are sentenced to rebuild what they destroyed. They will work with the species they oppressed, helping to repair the damage their policies caused. They will serve until those species declare the debt paid, and they will do so with full memory of their crimes so they never forget the cost of tyranny. Some humans protested. Chen-Lin heard them arguing outside the courthouse, demanding execution, demanding justice. Director Yamamoto addressed those concerns in a speech that would be remembered for generations. We could execute them, he said. It would be easy. Many would call it justice. But my grandmother taught me something. She said that the moment we choose vengeance over justice, we become the tyrants. The Varshiel ruled through fear and death. We're better than that. We have to be. The old Galactic Sovereignty Council was officially dissolved 6 months after the trial. In its place, the Free Systems Assembly was established. Every species had equal representation. Decisions required consensus, not majority rule. And at the center of it all was a principle borrowed from Earth: freedom above all else. Earth was the founding member, but not the ruler. The humans had learned that lesson well. Power corrupts. Better to be one voice among many than the single voice that commanded all. The technology Earth had developed, the quantum communicators, the wormhole networks, the medical advances, even the remnant discoveries, all of it was shared freely. Not sold, not traded for favors, just given to anyone who wanted it. Some species were suspicious. Others were grateful. All of them were shocked. In 10,000 years of council rule, technology had been a tool of control. Earth was using it as a gift. The Varshiel people, freed from their oppressive government, shocked everyone by choosing to join the Free Systems Assembly. Not immediately. They needed time to process their shame and rebuild their society. But within 10 years, a new generation of Varshiel, ones who'd seen the cost of tyranny firsthand, asked to become part of the new order. They were welcomed. The Vanguard program was quietly ended. Director Yamamoto made the announcement personally. We created enhanced humans because we thought we needed to be stronger, faster, better than we were, and the Vanguard served with honor. But we've learned something important. Our strength doesn't come from genetic modification. It comes from our ideals, from our refusal to give up, from our ability to adapt. We don't need to be enhanced anymore. We just need to be ourselves. Existing Vanguard were honored for their service and integrated fully into society. No new ones would be created. Humanity would evolve naturally the way they always had. Admiral Zhang retired from military service at age 160. He established the Concordat Defense Force, a truly multi-species military dedicated to protecting the free systems from any threat. He commanded it for 20 years before passing leadership to a Talaran officer who'd fought beside him at New Horizon. On Earth, in a small apartment overlooking Geneva, Ambassador Chen-Lin celebrated her 156th birthday. She was old even by enhanced standards, but her mind was sharp. Director Yamamoto visited her personally, bringing cake and genuine affection. We did it, she said, looking out at the city lights. I stood before the council 150 years ago and they cast us out. And now we've changed everything. You changed everything, Yamamoto corrected gently. You were there at the start. You believed we could do it when everyone else had doubts. Chen smiled. I just didn't want to bow down. Turned out that was enough. She died peacefully 3 weeks later, surrounded by family. Her funeral was attended by representatives from 300 species. They came to honor the woman who'd stood alone before the council and refused to apologize for being human. The first session of the Free Systems Assembly took place in a station built specifically for that purpose. No single species could claim it. It belonged to everyone equally. Chen-Lin's successor as Earth's chief ambassador, a young woman named Maya Santos, gave the opening address. Standing at the podium, Looking out at thousands of different species, she spoke words her predecessor would have been proud of. 2 centuries ago, the Council stood where we stand now. They cast out humanity, believing isolation would break us. They were wrong. We didn't break. We became a light in the darkness. Not because we're superior, we're not. But because isolation taught us the value of connection. We were banished. And in our exile, we learned what freedom truly means. The freedom to fail. The freedom to grow. The freedom to be exactly who we are without asking permission.